Hello, Norwood superstars! Let's get started with today's Norwood News newsletter for Norwood Elementary School as part of Baltimore County Public Schools. Today's edition is for Thursday, November 4th, 2021, and we have a jam-packed newsletter that we want to go over very quickly with you. There's also a new segment that we're going to start that's called Newsletter Callbacks, and we'll go over that in a moment and what exactly that means. But let's always kick off things where are very important upcoming dates. So for Friday, November 5th, if you can believe it already, that's the end of the first marking period. That means your children have already been 1/4 of the way through the school year. That's the first quarter ends, which means report cards and progress reports are coming soon, so just be aware. All schools will close 3 hours early in Baltimore County Public Schools. Now, Wednesday, November 17th is our Norwood Math Night. We had to save the date last time, but now we're just going to talk a little more in detail about what's going to happen that evening. Now, Tuesday, November 23rd is our pre-K conferences only. So no school for students of pre-K, just the conferences. You come for your conference. On Wednesday, November 24th is conferences for pre-K if they haven't finished, as well as all elementary grade students. So here we only go up to third grade, but if you have some in other schools, they would not have classes that day unless they have a conference. You just go to the conference. So Thursday, November 25th and Friday, November 26th, no school for the Thanksgiving holiday break. All right, so newsletter callbacks. These are just some suggested reads and resources from previous newsletters. So rather than making these longer because they repeat important topics, we're just going to call back to what they are, and we'll tell you exactly where you need to go. So for example, if you have an absent student and you don't remember where to find that note, that template that we have in English and Spanish that lets you just check off the reason they were gone or write it in and put the date and sign, we already have that ready for you, and you can print that out. And so just go to the October 8th newsletter, as you see here, and it also talks about the policies for tardiness and excused absences. So that might be very helpful, especially as we get into the cold and flu season where people may be out quite a bit. Also, the updating emergency contacts and student pickup by hand, manually. If you're not doing it by going into Focus and setting up your parent MyBCPS account, you can also ask for the printout of the contact sheet and write it in. So we go over that and show you exactly how to do that. So you can read the 21st of October newsletter to be able to see how to do that. We've been getting a lot of questions about Picture Day. When is Picture Day happening? We are really sorry that we cannot control the weather. That was just a little out of our hands. However, we are working in tandem with the picture company to find a new date. So if anything you've heard about what the new date is incorrect. They're just rumors. So especially about the 16th of December, that used to be a retake day. That is not happening because the retake day was based on the original day. So since the original day never happened, there's no retake day. We will have a new retake day most likely, but right now we have nothing on the table. So just please stay tuned. We will come and share with you those details as soon as we have them. October Coffee and Conversation ramp up. Excuse me. There's going to be some documents that we're going to provide you here because we talked about conscious discipline and big emotions with our children. And Ms. Powell, our counselor, was very helpful in explaining just what exactly the practice of conscious discipline is, which essentially is an idea that students and adults themselves need to be in a very neutral emotional state to deal with the ups and downs of life. It's called emotional regulation. And the more we focus on emotional regulation and giving students the tips to be able to recognize and identify their emotions and deal with their emotions, then less likely they have to resort to tantrums or ups and downs of mood swings and whatnot. Reactions, right? So the first resource that we're going to have here that you can click and see is going to be the ABCs for parents of little ones. It has a glossary of terms that are very commonly used in the concept of practice conscious discipline. And it also just tells you one of the main key points to do when you're in a situation with a child who's not emotionally regulated, like having awareness of what your own state is as a parent. If you're very triggered by your child and you're getting upset, you're only going to make things worse. So you have to find a way to help yourself prior to being able to help them. And then breathing exercises, right? Helping them with exercises to calm down or distract their mind for a moment. And then closeness for the C. Closeness is just to make sure they feel safe. Safe is a very important concept. That's why we have safe spaces, safe places. So once they feel safe, sometimes it takes the element of the need to react out. So that's a very important takeaway from that. The next one here, which is what are social stories, it just talks about these stories that are used sometimes with children to help them understand certain situations. This is an example of one. It's called I Can Handle Being Scared. And basically it just tells them a little story of like, what happens when I get scared? What do I feel? Where is it happening? What do I do? And what does it look like? And that it's okay. It happens to all of us, and mom and dad is going to be here to help us. So these stories that you can read to them or have available are very useful, and we use them quite a bit in the school to help calm children down and make sure that they don't need to feel anxiety, whether it's for a test or for a transition or anything in the school. So this is more for your reference to explain what they are, but you can use these guides and these concepts to help make your own social stories. So if you want to use social stories at home for situations where like they don't want to do their homework, what happens when they're upset or when they're anxious or they see something scary, you can do those. You can make those with them, or you can provide it and then read it through with them when they are having a situation where they are not emotionally regulated. The third resource is a sample workbook for a big emotion. In particular, this one's called The Rage Story. So, having a little trouble with the link, but it will be there when you go to it. But the Rage Story is basically a worksheet. It's like a little workbook, a pamphlet. And it just asks them to personalize their own story. So rather than the story being ready-made for them, they get to fill out the components of the story. Where do I feel my emotion? And it has a picture of a body that you can pinpoint where it is. And then what happens to me when I'm in this moment, when I'm upset or enraged? And then what can I do? What do I tend to do? So it just asks them some questions, and then you put it together, and then you read through with them. And sometimes by reading that and focusing on that, it takes them out of that moment. Or they remember when they were enraged last time, and they realize they don't have to be so enraged this time. So it just was a applicative workbook that you can work through with your child to help kind of work and process through that emotion. And the example of that workbook is one that you can modify to your liking and create similar ones for other emotions at home. There are also some little dolls called Feeling Buddies that you can buy. If you Google or look up in Amazon Feeling Buddies, you will find these little dolls that just have different expressions for emotions, like happy or angry or anxious and worried. So if you don't want to pay the money for them, we have two examples here of how you can make them and turn them into a fun activity for your child. So here, just one example on how you can actually do different kinds of. Here's an example of one, being able to show with a little doll or a feeling buddy what they're feeling in that moment, and they are in unison with them. And then there's a YouTube video that we have here that also you can just check out, and the YouTube video will basically show you how to make emotions puppets. Just kind of a simpler DIY version of them that you can help. It's a crafty version that they can do themselves or you can do with them, and then they can just use it when it's ready and then deploy to show what they're feeling in a moment without having to actually act that way. It's a good conduit, should I say, for their emotions. So stay tuned because we don't have any information quite yet as to the exact date and time for our November coffee and conversation and what the topic is, but in the next family newsletter, we will talk about that. On to Norwood Math Night. So this is going to be a night where you're going to get to join your children, and they're going to be with their peers. It's going to be virtual though, but they're on Google Meet. They're going to be able to go in and join their peers virtually to do and tackle different activities and to see how math can be fun and used at home. So this is a resource for you families to be able to incorporate math at home so that we can really cover the gamut and get them to really improve all these different voids of skills, especially over the last 2 years that we're trying to cover. So it's just to make math more engaging and fun. It doesn't have to be boring and just from a textbook and about memorization. So just keep in mind it's a virtual event from Google Meet, 6:30 to 7:30, November 17th. That's a Wednesday. And there's going to be different codes for depending on what grade you are. So we have all the codes right here for you that you can copy directly from this, as well as a flyer that tells you a little bit more about what exactly it is. The key thing to note is that we're going to be sending home with the kids a math kit on November 15th. So if they come home with something, that's what it is. And they're supposed to set it aside and then be ready to use it that night for math night. Okay? If there's any questions, you can always just call the school and let us know. Last year, we had a huge successful turkey drive. So we had several sponsors to donate turkeys and Thanksgiving dinners for families. This time, we have a sponsor that we've secured again. We have a limited number, only for 19 families, okay? Just 19 families can have, on a first-come, first-served basis, a Thanksgiving dinner that has your choice of several options of a dessert or side. It's really, really good, and it can serve up to 6 people. It's not serving 6 people. It depends. They customize them to your size of your family. So you can't get one bigger than that. Your maximum it's going to be for 6 people. But just reach out to us. You can either reach out to Ms. Kendra Powell. Her email is here. Or you can call the school, and we can gladly help you with that, because we can fill out a survey that just asks for certain information that, with your help, we'll just fill it out for you, and we'll send it all the information correct so that you can make sure you get it. And you'll have a choice of being able to pick it up or have it sent to your home. So once again, remember, it's going to be 19 families only, first come, first serve. So don't wait if this is something that you think is going to help you. We need this very, very soon, because they will fill up. And also, you need to let us know. You will be notified by Friday, November 12th, if you are, in fact, receiving a meal. So once we submit the information, you will get a confirmation from us about it. The meal distribution is going to be the day before Thanksgiving on Wednesday, November 24th, and it's a heat and serve. So it's not all ready to go. It's just there's going to be components that you just have to heat up and then serve. Here's our November math unit overviews for families. It should be for Unit 3. So as we've always done, we've alternated where the first week newsletter of the month is going to be about math, and the third week of the month is going to be about reading and writing through ELA, English Language Arts. So depending on your language preference, English or Spanish, for every grade we have the current ones. And here's an example of for kindergarten, Unit 3. Again, these are just resources to help you as a family go over and prepare your child for their expectations for what they're going to learn in their upcoming unit. A note about fall conferences. We talked about last time if you wanted to request an interpreter. Well, now they're getting closer. And so just be aware, we've already talked about on the important upcoming dates what days they're going to be. Remember, the 23rd and the 24th, depending on what the grade they are. So at this point, if you don't hear from your teacher by November 12th about anything about conferences, please reach out to your teacher. You can call the school too, but reach out to your teacher definitely. And if you're not hearing back from your teacher, reach out to the school. So you should have a scheduled conference, and you should have some kind of correspondence, or they should be trying to reach out to you about this. There's also an Americanism essay by the American Legion Auxiliary, or ALA, of the Maryland department. So each state is its own department of the ALA. And here in Maryland, we're going to have an annual contest, which is now in full effect. It's all the way up until end of January, I believe, and January 31st. And these essay contests are basically open to 3rd through 8th graders, and it's going to ask them one important theme to write about, which is how can we support families who provide care to their veterans? So if there are families that are caring for veterans in their family, or they support other veterans, what can we do to help them, to better support them? So all you have to do is write an essay to what you think about that topic. There's no limit that I can see in terms of size or how long it has to be, but just fill out this cover sheet. So there's going to be a cover sheet here that's going to basically have some information already filled out unique to us and to our department, which is for Maryland. It tells you the breakdown of the groups based on what grades they are. So if your child's in 5th grade, for example, they'd be group 2, 3rd and 4th is group 1. So you have to fill out this checklist basically to make sure you have everything done and completed. It's better to use something like Microsoft Word or a program that can do a word count, for example. That's going to be very useful because they want to know the word count. And then a parent fills out this actual bottom portion, basic information about the student, the family, as well as the teacher name and signature. So you're going to need to get the teacher for your child to sign and write down their name as well legibly for this before sending this off and following the instructions. If you need more information, you can also go to the website for the American Legion Auxiliary, which is here. This is just a reminder, as we talked about previously, for the CCBC Family Literacy ESOL program. So if you would like to learn English and an applicative English towards your child's scholastic experience, they do have these free sessions, these seminars. They're basically courses that you can take. And they're very, very helpful. So if you've been wanting to just further improve, let's say English is not your first language, or you know somebody who that falls into that category and they might be interested, you can share this flyer with them. The North Point Library is one of the locations here in Dundalk that they have for registration. You have to go in person. And that is coming up in early December. So you've still got some time. But if you just check out the flyer, you'll see North Point Library. It says here December 3rd from at 12:30 p.m. in the community room. There's other places you can go if you want to drive a little more, but other than that, you can just wait till that day and just try to get there early so you can set aside some time to fill out the registration. And we're just going to remind you about change of clothing once again. Just make sure that if you are using a change of clothing, you replace it. Have always a change of clothing available. You can put 2 in your kid's locker, keep only 1, but just make sure it's being rotated and that you have one always. And just even if it's just your kid gets extremely dirty due to the mud outside from recess or has an accident or whatever, not a bad idea to make sure you always have one. And if you're sent home with replacement clothing, you can always wash it at your leisure and then just bring it back so we can give it to the nurse. Okay, no rush on that though. But thank you for those who have done that so far. Wash your hands, wash your hands, wash your hands. The cold and flu season is approaching, and there's going to be a lot of people that are out sick due to just normal common cold and flu. Just to reduce that, just make sure everybody's washing their hand appropriately. Thank you all very much for your time and for your patience with everything. We are doing our best to keep on progressing with our school year as we've already got 1/4 of the way there. Thank you all. I hope you had a wonderful Halloween and looking forward to the holidays ahead. Thanks and keep on learning.